Hello guys, this is Dr. Lior Bar-El, and man do I have some sad news to tell you guys. So MU Paradise, as you know, has been going head-to-head with Nintendo, and Nintendo is pretty much going against every emulation site that's out there. Now, this isn't new. As I told you before, people are making it appear like this is a new thing. The truth of the matter is, it has been existing since the beginning of the, emulation. I mean, they've been back and forth being fought on and all that stuff and going to court cases. If you guys remember, as I showed you in my previous video, Bleem, Bleem was a PlayStation emulator who got sued by Sony and of course won. And, I'm going to get into this right now. What is Nintendo's stupid problem? And I'm going to tell you right away what's going on. Now, emulation is really good. Why? Because it was a way to archive video games, especially in the past. You had a lot of these old games coming out, and you didn't get a chance to play them, and now you do. Some people might play, let's say, Street Fighter 2, the old days, and then love the Street Fighter franchise and want to be tempted to actually buy the games and all of that stuff. But it is what it is. And also there's a law, there's a loophole that says if you own the game, you're allowed to keep a backup copy. Some said 24 hours, some said you're allowed to keep it. As long as the disclaimer was on, that was a loophole and lets everybody download these games all, willy-nilly. Now the thing is, here is the issue. A lot of the companies, I can understand if they're still around, they would have an issue with, let's say, emulation and say, well, you're taking business away. The truth of the matter is, when you have arcade emulations and you have, dead systems that are being, that are being resurrected by the emulation world, I think that should be left alone because they're not losing money out of it, and it's something cool to have, and whatever. Nintendo's going after them because they're releasing, they never released their virtual console, which already made Nintendo a very stupid marketing system, if you ask me. But now when you have Genesis, Sega releasing Sega Ages, and you have Nintendo re-releasing, their old Nintendo games into a subscription service, what they have planned, even before they had planned, they had that because they had it planned for their other systems. They started going after them because of their marketing potential of, oh wait, if we're charging $10 per game and now the hackers found a way to homebrew to put Super NES Nintendo emulation working on it, well, guess what, they're not going to be able, we're not going to be able to sell it. Everyone's going to go ahead and get free games and yada yada whatever. I understand why Nintendo is fighting it, but I think what they should do is embrace the hacking community now more than ever. Dreamcast did that. Now, the only reason Dreamcast went out of business was because people hacked their system, and it was so easy to hack that you could have, non-bootable, non-bootable CDs. I remember DVD drives. You put it into the Dreamcast, and it works, very well without any problems. If they actually embraced the hacking community and said, okay, guys, you know what? We're going to go to the emulators of, instead of Nintendo, but of, Sony, and get the PSP and everything, which is working right now, I think, on the hacking community. And we're going to have it playing like they had, if you remember, Dreamcast had Bleemcast. So they took them on, and a lot of people started saying, well, I could play my PlayStation games, and it's going to look way better on the Dreamcast than it does on a PlayStation 2. And, all of that. They were more inclined, customers, to buy the Dreamcast. So I would think if they embraced that, it would be a very good marketing strategy for Nintendo. But again, Nintendo's just looking after Nintendo. But while they did that, they also took down an entire site, an entire website that they're taking down, and pretty much no ROMs anymore. So MU Paradise was an extremely very well diverse, filled with all kinds of ROMs for countless systems. I remember using them a billion times as I was growing up, and it was something that was really beautiful. And I think the archives about it was so cool, to play games that are not even available yet, or even Japanese ports that were never available to play, which the companies are not losing money off because it came out. Also, I love to archive my games because, like I told you, you can brush these freaking chips all you want, or any one of our CDs that we have that are, in Sega CD, Sega Saturn that went out of business, Dreamcast, all of that. You can only brush those CDs so much, and the CDs go bad. And I have a lot of my Dreamcast games that literally do not function anymore. And then you have to buy these re-sanders and all of this crap And you feel bad because you're kind of degrading your shit. And by the time that, you know, doing that enough times, it's not going to be playable anymore. I love to have my backup copies. Also backup copies that I could play on the go, on my computer, on my laptop, on my, you know, PC, on my phone right now. They even let you have it. So you're archiving your games that you really already bought. And a lot of us already kind of own these games already. Most of us, especially in my time, I'm 38 years old. A lot of people in the early, you know, late 80s and 88, or even Atari games, we own these games and we just can't play them anymore because either our Nintendos don't work anymore, but we still have those games. We own these games. We paid for these games. And let's face it, guys, the majority of emulators serve as a archive to, you know, to protect us, but also as an archive for games that aren't really making money anymore. They're not making money. Now, I understand Nintendo's plea here. We are, you know, Nintendo is coming out with a resurrection of these games. Sega is coming out with a resurrection of these games. So I do get why they're protecting their, you know, part, but they actually took them to war for all emulation. They took them to war for, you know, destroying their business, even though they're not. And it kind of sucks that an entire emulator site was taken down due to that conflict. One of the biggest, most diverse site that was taken out, I believe it's about 18 years old. And of course, I remember I got into emulation from, was it 1996? It was early emulation, and then of course in 1998 you had all your Super Nintendo games, and Nintendo, even though we all had Sega Saturn and all of that, guess what? It actually got us to want to, you know, we saw games, and I was a collector, so I would play these games and test run these games and see how they are. And then afterwards, even though I had a Sega Saturn or a Dreamcast, I would go right back and buy these games for collectible reasons, for collector's reasons. And a lot of us, I remember my friends and I, we used to play these games, Genesis games and everything, that we already owned pretty much, but we didn't have a Genesis anymore. We didn't have any of that, but we had our games, but we couldn't play it anymore, but the Genesis didn't work anymore. Something happened or whatever. And we would play it on our computer day in and day out. We would play arcade emulators. I used to have the Simpsons arcade game, the actual arcade I had. And I was so sad when it stopped working, and it's, you know, and I'm sure now I could have fixed it, but whatever, I tossed it. The thing is, I bought it, I owned it. It was part of my house. It was like furniture back then. You had to have it. It was like a collector's item for a basement or a room or a bedroom, you know, all that. It was just beautiful. So it felt so good that we had these emulation. I remember you had to go to DOS mode to play it, and to play Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. They're not making money off this anymore. Arcades are, you know, non-existent anymore. So if Nintendo just went after that, that would have been fine if they just said to them, just take off the ROMs. But they're literally destroying ROM sites. And to be honest, I don't know how they're winning. I guess because what they do is, because it is unconstitutional what they're doing, because they're pressing and pressing. There is a way that you can fight this at the Supreme Court, because they're literally bankrupting you. So they have their loopholes, you have yours. If you own the actual thing, as long as the maker of the site put it down as a disclaimer, where if you own it, you're allowed to keep a backup copy, they cannot win. But what they do is, just like they did with Bleem, if you remember, Sony took them to court over and over again. Even though they kept winning, it was over and over, that Bleem couldn't operate anymore because they were wasting money and legal fees constantly over and over again. And also, they had no chance to work because they were being badgered and completely, you know, monopolized by these lawsuits, that they just gave up in the end. You know, they just couldn't do it anymore. So that's where it became, that's where it's coming down to. MU Paradise, a lot of people think they just got hit right now. That's not true. This was from the beginning when they came out. Nintendo, Sega, Sony, we're taking them to court over and over and over again. But right now you have some shady things that are happening and loopholes, you know. So what happened is they kept taking them to court till eventually they just got sick of it. And now they pretty much, you know, didn't really shut down their site, but their ROMs are no longer in effect, and pretty much that's going to shut down the site altogether. Okay, and that becomes a very big issue. And you know, once Nintendo will be successful, other ones will jump in and do that as well. Now, to all of the, you know, people out there that are wondering, you can still find these anywhere, because guess what? There's even, I remember there was a pirate group that wanted to own a place, I think it was in Malaysia or some island, I forgot where if they do that, they can make up their own laws. But again, different countries have different laws, and these different countries will serve these websites, and they will still be able to give you, you know, the ROMs, and you could find ROMs pretty much anywhere. But the thing is, if you guys remember back in the Windows 95, Windows 98 days, and in Windows XP days, you got a ton of viruses from unreliable sites, you know. So you had, let's say, the Wares, if you remember. You would go into that, and you would download stuff, and it would take you to pornographic sites. And before that, you know, by accident, when it says click download, it would take you to a porn site or whatever, and then it would lead you to horrible, you know, spam, you know, so viruses and spyware and all kinds of horrible crap. And none of these were dependable. Some of them even took you in a loop where you would never get any type of thing. And this happened, and this is why everybody went into the IRC underground, and you went into the IRC and click and, you know, enter groups, and you would download all of these things, every MAME game, everything, even illegal games and all of that stuff, illegal movies. Nobody trusted anymore the regular websites because they were bombarded by money-making sites who just tossed you to porn sites and sold your information. And there were pirates who basically didn't give a flying crap about anybody but themselves, obviously, and they just did it as a money scheme. Some of these sites had no ROMs and had no games, and they would have you go in an endless loop just to make them money, and they would generate a crap ton of money, of course, you know, through porn and all this other crap, and you know, was it lottery sites and poker sites, and they would make a killing off of that. And that's pretty much what it was. And MU Paradise was really an awesome site. And they had a lot of emulation sites that went down that were really trustworthy and were trying to do the right thing, and unfortunately got caught up and, of course, screwed in the end. They screwed the pooch. So that's what happened in the end. In the end, they got, you know, everybody got screwed in the end. And right now it's really sad, and you could still find these ROMs, you could still find them, of course, you could still look around and find reliable sites, but remember, once Nintendo was successful, how long did it take for others, you know, for other companies out there to do the same thing? And that becomes a major, major issue. Anyways, that's all I got to say about that. So don't be too, you know, don't worry, don't fret, there's still sites that you could get it. It just looks like a beginning of something that's going to be really bad for systems themselves as well. Because once emulation gets cut down, once the archiving is gone, a lot of people will, you know, there's a lot of games that they wanted to get that could make. For example, if I'm playing a game on emulation for Nintendo, and I'm not one of those guys that hack, because let's not forget, a lot of people are not hacking their Switches due to bricking issues and other issues that are happening right now and being blocked from the online world and all of that. These people are going to be forced to, you know, miss out on a lot of these classic games, because they're not going to go, I'm not going to go and say, oh, this game looks fun on the picture, and I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to go and shell out $10 for a game. But if I were to play it on an emulator and saw what the game was about and how awesome it was, I would pay Nintendo $10 to take it on the go with me, because let's face it, anything you get on your, you know, emulators on your touchscreen sucks, especially in Mario and other games like Street Fighter. You don't want touchscreen, you want a nice little thing that you can take with you. I would love to put it on the, you know, on that and actually pay $10 to Nintendo and have it. Again, Nintendo is extremely stupid for giving up their marketing potential, which is the virtual console, and make it into a subscription. I don't think anybody's going to give a crap about that. They're going to want to own these games, and I think Nintendo's making a real big mistake that they're not implementing that virtual console into this whole ecosystem, that you could buy those games and they'll be yours. Because subscription, you're basically renting it. Once you stop being a subscriber, these games are not going to be playable anymore. I think the PS Vita learned a big important lesson from doing that as well. But the thing is, that's what Nintendo should focus on, and they're missing out on a lot of marketing potential by doing that. I just think that emulation is a good way of archiving. I do think it's very stupid of Nintendo or any system out there to try to go against emulation. I understand if they go against the emulators, for example, if they have a Nintendo Switch emulator or a PlayStation 4 emulator. I totally get them going against them, or even PlayStation 3 emulator. But when you're talking about emulation that has gone way back, I think it's extremely stupid to even waste your money going for lawsuits against them. I just think it's extremely dumb. And it's not going to go anywhere, to be honest with you. I mean, they're stopping their thing, but legally they can't be sued for anything. They could try to sue them for $8 million or whatever millions in damages they try to do. It's not going to work out because technically by law you're allowed, unless there's legislation that destroys that law, you're allowed to do that. So this lawsuit's going to go nowhere. Nintendo's is only losing money from this, but also they're losing a marketing potential from their old games that could be played, and then people want to take it on the go. Let's face it, people. A lot of people that bought the Switch only jumped on because of its portability factor. Nobody gives a damn about its docking mode. Very few people do. I mean, don't get me wrong. Their docking mode is great. I played, but most of the time, most of us got it for a portable system. I mean, when I did my WWE 2K18, all of us were talking about having a portable game on the go, because that is really why we got it. That fact that we could take it on the go to the crapper and play this game, okay? So the thing is, to have something to go on the go with is really cool, and they're really preventing the archiving from existing. Now there's what's going to happen with, with the archives. Well, I mean, obviously, this isn't game over. Obviously, you could find all these games anywhere else and you'll be fine. So there's no issue with that, so don't even worry. But if everybody starts to jump in and completely destroy emulation, we're going to have a problem. Now, obviously, there's going to be IRC undergrounds and stuff being served by pirates on other things that are 100% reliable. IRC sites that have a lot of things. So, yes, there's people that are still going to go and archive them and whatever. The thing is, it doesn't look good if this starts to be a victory, other companies jump in. It's just, I think it's very stupid of Nintendo to do that. I do understand they're protecting their product of the past because now they're trying to resell them. So I get that. Whatever. Kudos to you, Nintendo. What am I going to say? But you are preventing a large thing by not implementing that virtual console in it. And I think that if you let people do it responsibly, people will play the game and then want to get it on the go and portable thing. But Nintendo right now is fighting a big hack war. Maybe I'm not going to be too hard on them. But the thing is, I think emulation has a place in the gaming world. And I think we all will miss this incredibly. But we have nothing. Yeah, I don't think we have anything to fear. Tell me down in the comments below what you guys think about that. I want to know, does emulation matter to you? Do you think video game archiving is great? I love to have backup copies of every game I have, even of Nintendo Switch games. I would love to have somewhere I could back this up and have it just in case. I mean, I doubt they'll go out of business, but if they ever do, or if anything happens, I could always have my backup copies that I paid my hard-earned money for. And, I didn't pay it for leasing it, I paid it to own my copy. And I know even though the word own is very subjective when it comes to the disclaimers with Nintendo and any other gaming industry out there. But the thing is, that's what I would love to keep a backup copy. I want to know down below if you could tell me what you guys think. Anyways, as always, self-funded here. The only way you can help me is by commenting, subscribing, liking the video, and definitely hit that bell button, as many more honest reviews and talks like this will be coming out. Especially be sure to see the 3 mini-series I had, how to build a gaming computer, which I'm done with, and it's already every Sunday, and it's already done. The next one is next month, how to build how to make your Star Killer or Iron Man helmet on a 3D printer from beginning to start, from beginning to end. And then the next one's going to be how to build a gaming desk and all of that stuff. So keep those requests coming, and more I will be doing mini-series covering all of that. Anyways, have a good one, y'all. Take care. Bye.